Einstein the Plagiarist. I have been defending Einstein for professional and personal reasons until about 6 months ago. Through the many years since we conferred as important critical conferences in April 1955, I have read articles and viewed videos that contain considerable facts that force me to agree that he had plagiarized others, namely Lorentz. Prior to Einstein's 1905 papers, obvious Einstein used Lorentz's transformation equation, x prime equals x minus vt over the square root of 1 minus v squared over c squared. Here c is the velocity of light. And used Lorentz's suggestion to hold light as a constant and arbitrarily make space and time variables. Thus mathematically accounts for the phenomenon of length contraction. Next, Poincare. Poincare is the world's best mathematical physicist at that time. He refined Lorentz's transformation equation into how they are presented today, and that's the way Einstein used them. In 1904, at the World Scientific Congress in St. Louis, Missouri, there was the World's Fair. At that time, they had the World Scientific Congress. Poincare presented relativity. I repeat with emphasis, relativity. Explained what relative motion is, and even went to where he said where matter would transform into energy. That is what Einstein represented in 1905. Philip Leonard, next, is the famous mathematical physicist. Everybody had to know, and Einstein knew, he lived in the same area at that time, of Philip Leonard, who explained and presented proof of the photoelectric effect in 1902. And that is what Einstein represented in 1905. Now, Poincare had become angry because he had put forth relativity. Now, Philip Leonard became really angry because the Nobel Committee passed him over to award Einstein the prize of the photoelectric effect. Yours truly is forced to agree that Einstein represented, is the polite way I would excuse his plagiarism, still staunchly defending my old friend because E equals mc squared is the most important mathematical physics presentation. And I have been taught that that's Einstein's original mathematical physics presentation. Why did I personally give Einstein the benefit of the doubt? Because in April 1955, we had critical one-on-one conferences concerning my insistence that theoretically at least I have broken the light barrier. Einstein was now in a position where he had to reject my, as I politely would say, modernization of the Lorentz-Einstein transformation equations, or accept them, or agree and move forward per my capital C transformation equations, precisely capital X prime equals capital X minus Vt over the square root of 1 minus V squared over capital C squared, where capital C is equal to or greater than c, the velocity of light. He asked me if I was sure. I said, I'm sure. Historically, if not this century, then in the 21st century, particles finer than mass but of greater velocity will be discovered and or, for instance, will be obtained in the laboratory like CERN. Not publicly mentioned, but even now CERN is working with velocities of particles equal to light or maybe an increment greater than the velocity of light. And please consider this theoretical experiment. Theoretically, if you balance your book of relativity on a point of a fulcrum struck by a photon per Compton, it will have the momentum of making the book of relativity fall. You reset your book of relativity, again perfectly balanced on the point of a fulcrum. Now it falls, and you reset and it falls. You don't detect anything. The reason is that in future years, laboratories will discover a rho prime equal to your rho, where it's rho equals mvr, and rho prime equals m prime v prime r. You set r to unity. Then if my rho prime equals your rho, but my m is constantly being discovered is going towards an infinitesimal particle, then the v prime must be greater than your v. So theoretically, I'm sure of breaking the light barrier. Now, as we conferred, he removed his name from the so-called Lorentz-Einstein transformation equation. I repeat that with emphasis. I would say, out of politeness and maybe the way I speak, I would say, well, in the Lorentz-Einstein transformation, he'd interrupt me and say, well, really, that's Lorentz's transformation equation. And then as I sort of forget and saying the Lorentz-Einstein, he'd interrupt me and say, no, that's really Lorentz's transformation equation. Do you understand? Einstein took his name off some even said it was the Einstein transformation equation, off the Lorentz-Einstein transformation equation, because as I was going to present, it was really Lorentz's transformation equation, if not Lorentz-Poincare transformation equations. Now, next is the apparent proof that Einstein, having difficulty with the math of the field equations for the general theory of relativity, suddenly obtained the field equations for general relativity 5 days after the great mathematician David Hilbert published. 5 days later, Einstein now has these field equations. And defenders of Einstein say that Hilbert plagiarized from the genius of Einstein. Per logical argument, per logic, that a mathematician would need Einstein to present his mathematics. When Einstein flunked out of math at the university, a true fact, they are not, in my opinion, now a Hilbert-Einstein field equations. I interrupt and say they are just Hilbert's field equations. Einstein plagiarized Hilbert's mathematics. He needed Minkowski to help him with his mathematics when he presented his work. Well, Minkowski would come over as a friend and review them, and then he would publish. And of course, then there's the Minkowski great mathematical presentations of four-dimensional relative motion. About 6 months ago on the internet of an Italian-American cultural club, I saw posted Olinto de Pietro really is the owner of E equals MC squared. Say what? What do we have uncovered? A de Pietro-Einstein equation? This time I personally investigated and obtained the true facts. After researching for 6 months, these are the true facts, and I can say them from memory. Einstein, when he was young, went to school in Italy. He lived with an uncle that was a scholar, and he went to school in Italy so he could speak Italian fluently. So anything de Pietro would publish, Einstein could easily see and read and comprehend. Now, they came from the same area. Einstein now is working at the patent office, and he would visit his uncle in that area. They had a little, academic club. It was Michael Basso, who worked with Einstein and was his best friend at the patent office. Olinto de Pietro's brother, Olinto de Pietro, of course, and Einstein. And sometimes they would get together and have discussions of what's new and interesting in the discipline of science. Now, Olinto de Pietro's brother worked for a Mr. Basso, who is their uncle. Michael Basso, the same name, spelling, as Mr. Basso, who did technical work. He is also Michael Baso's uncle. So Olento de Pietro and Michael Baso are first cousins. Do you understand how close by relationship and friendship they are? Einstein says he never read de Pietro's book. He always says when about plagiarism, he doesn't read their book. Well, I mean, of course, Poincaré angry and Leonard. De Pietro didn't write a book. He wrote his science papers in 1903 featuring E equals mc squared, explaining its meaning and the tremendous energy obtained from a small amount of mass and transforming from E equals mc squared in calculations and this tremendous energy. He did that in a Engineering Science magazine, 1903. Einstein had to have known and read it. In 1904, in the prestigious Science Academy of Veneto, in this prestigious science academy in that area, he was represented of the E equals mc squared, and here he specifically went into explaining it and its calculations and said the same words Einstein used in his letter to Roosevelt: with a small amount of energy you obtain an enormous amount, with a small amount of matter you obtain an enormous amount of energy. And that's what you have to realize. So now I don't say that Einstein represented others. I am forced to say that Einstein is a plagiarist. Somebody could say, well, that's still, nobody can spin where it's his word, like Einstein's word against my word. And who am I? Well, I think I've mentioned now, and I have many videos of what I've really achieved there for who I really am. Now, I had Doc C PhD company, and the state-of-the-art of advanced concepts in theoretical mathematical physics, science, and inventions. Photoelectric copier, lightification, stimulated electromagnetic radiation. Absolutely. I think it's considered #1 in the world. And what I am then emphasizing is that what I personally then have established these facts is that always they say, well, he didn't read their book. Oh, de Pietro didn't write a book. He wrote his science papers, which Einstein did see and read in that same area, close relatives and friends, etc. They say, well, he never gave a reference, so it's his word against yours. Well, he did give one reference. Michael Baso. Do you understand? He actually has Michael Baso as a reference in the 1905 papers as having conferred prior to 1905 in relation to what he is presenting. To me, that is absolute proof, and now I'm forced to say Einstein is a plagiarist. No, I will take a polygraph lie detector test on your desk and pay for it. That's only the stipulation. You must print and present the results. Isn't that fair enough? To believers, of course, I say those are the true facts, and thank you.